Welcome back to VFX for the Indie Filmmaker. In this module, we're going to go over setting up your shots for rendering. And this brings us to this part up here and why this is separated. Blender allows you to do two things. It allows you to do multiple scenes within the file, and it also allows you to create multiple view layers, they call them, or render layers. So this means if I need, for this shot, I don't actually need multiple scenes, but in the original footage, I did have fog that was coming down these stairs and the haze that was all in the background, which I didn't include in the files that I sent you just because it was too large. And that fog was a lot of data, so I had to get rid of it just to make it small enough to be able to upload. So what I did is, since I didn't need these specific render settings for the fog, because it would have taken a long time to render at these render settings, what you can do is you can create a second scene. So if I click new and just copy settings, that'll copy everything into this new one. It should have copied everything to this new one. Oh, full copy. Sorry about that. You do full copy, and it'll copy everything from that scene. So for instance, if I only wanted, say, these wings in this scene, I could go through and delete everything. Delete that hierarchy. Delete that hierarchy. Which I wouldn't do because I need the lighting and everything for in the shadows for all this stuff. This is just an example. So if I only wanted to render this, but I wanted to change some of my render settings, for example, if I maybe wanted to render it in Eevee, or if I wanted to change my max samples, which is what I did for the volumes. Any volumes I did, my samples were different and my noise threshold was different. That's why I did separate layers. But you have multiple scenes here, so, but I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because I don't need it. Delete that one because I don't need it. Now, the important part of all this is these view layers, or the render layers. Because what we need to do is we need to break this scene up for us to be able to composite. So before you start breaking up, you need to kind of think how your compositing is gonna go. We know our actress is gonna be one composite layer. Not just for this, because I actually used the original footage that we input. I'll replace this footage in there with that just because it's crisper and cleaner. And for some reason, Blender tends to, on stuff that is white, you see this black layer that's going around there? Even though it's not in our original footage, for some reason, the alphas look weird sometimes. And sometimes it won't show up, but sometimes it does. But additionally, the lighting in how dark our footage is not what I want. I want that original footage so I can manipulate the color a little better. But you definitely need to have this footage here because you need it for your shadows, you need it for the lighting, you need it for everything else. So we know our actress is going to be one layer, one render layer for our compositing. Our wings are going to be another layer. And then depending on how our scene is set up, we may want to do our throne a second layer, and we might want to do our background and our walls as another layer. So this is what you got to think of before you start setting up. So we're going to go ahead and turn this stuff back on, and we're going to rename this all to, actually we can leave that. We're going to create a new one, hit copy settings, and it's going to make an exact copy of that last one. We'll name this actress. We're going to copy settings. We're going to name this one wings. We're going to copy settings. And for the sake of setting up compositing, I'm going to make another one for the throne. I really wouldn't. I would just do the throne and the wall and the background and everything all as one, but I'll separate them just so we have more things to composite. Throne. And I'll make one more. And I'll just call this wall. Everything in the background. So while we're on this wall, what we want to do is we want to hide everything that is not part of the wall render. So in order to do that, you have these two buttons right here. This one is going to be a holdout, meaning if we want to hold out, say our actress, it's just going to hold her out. And this one is indirect only, so it's still going to cast shadows. If it was a light, it's still going to cast a light. This is a theory behind all this stuff. So in this one, we want everything else to be indirect only other than our wall. So we can go through and start checking indirect only. And our sconces we're going to leave because they're actually not even in there, so we'll just leave those on. We'll leave our lights. We'll leave our overhead light. Now our actress, she needs to be indirect only. Our props, which are our throne, indirect only, throne. And we'll just go ahead and make all of our props indirect only, even though the statues aren't visible. So you can see that throne just disappeared, but it still will cast shadows as needed. Our chandelier up top, we'll go ahead and leave. Our wing lights, we're going to mark indirect only, and our wings indirect only. And now you notice that just didn't disappear, because if there's folders within folders, you can either hold your shift and select indirect only, but this doesn't work sometimes, just so you know. So usually what I'll do is just open it up and just go through and mark them all in indirect only to make sure that's showing up. So that's our first render layer, is the wall. So now we can click on our throne and bring up that layer. And so now we know we want everything on our floor and our wall to be indirect only. So hold the shift key. Our temple structure, which is our wall and everything, indirect only. Our sconces, we want indirect only. Our door wall lights, indirect only. Overhead lights, indirect only. Our actress, indirect only. Now our props will leave because we want that throne in there. Our chandelier, indirect only. Now what I usually like to do is I usually like to leave my lights on, even though it really does, it's going to look the same no matter whether you have them indirect only or not, but sometimes in the background you'll actually see that light. So for my floor and wall, I'll usually leave the lights on, and for everything else I'll do indirect only. All right, so our wing lights, indirect only, and our wings, indirect only. So now we only have the throne in that shot. Then we'll go to our wings and do the same thing. Turn off our floor, our temple, our sconces, our door wall lights, our overhead lights, our actress, our props, and I'll leave. You can turn these on or off if you want. It's not going to make a difference. You're not going to see anything. So, but I usually leave the wing lights on my wings. So there's our wings. And then we go to our actress. And the same thing. We're going to indirect only everything other than our actress. So now we have all these render layers set up correctly. So there's our actress, our wings, our throne, and our wall. So there we go. So in the next module, we'll go ahead and set up our compositing so we can start exporting our footage. If you like this video and would like access to the full course, you can visit my Payhit page, link in the description. For only $26, you're getting access to 6 hours of instructional video, as well as access to footage, Blender project files, and other pre-production file downloads. The VFX for the Indie Filmmaker course covers complete instruction from pre-production to project delivery and includes modules such as keying and compositing, creating and rendering 3D sets, and everything else you'll need to know to go from charging hundreds of dollars per project to thousands of dollars per project.